Good afternoon. This is Suzanne McLean. I see a couple more people are jumping on, so I'll give you just a couple more minutes here, or I guess seconds. Okay, so it looks like we're ready to start. Before I start, I would love to introduce my team to everyone so you know exactly who you're working with. And always good to have a name with a face. I tell these guys every day that they make me look good. So a big thank you to all of them. So the first one I'm going to introduce to everybody here is Pansy Robinson.
Hello, good morning. We're glad to have you join us.
And the next one would be Tisha Bivens.
Good morning. Glad to see y'all.
And Alice Harlow.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
And Kim Lacey.
Good morning. Happy to be joining everybody.
All right. So like I say all the time, these guys make us look good. They're the ones that are behind the scenes helping everybody out. So big thank you to each of them. So before we get started here, basically this is going to be a little different live cast than I've ever done before because it's really not Medicare geared. It is more, well, I attended a conference last week in San Diego, and at the conference, there was one of the top business coaches from the US that was there putting on the conference. And he had all of us doing these exercises. And of course, when I go away to a conference, I always think to myself, how can I take what I'm learning here and apply it to my business? And what he had us do is something very similar to what we're going to do here today. And as you can see, we're going to talk about the 5 circles of a purpose-filled retirement. So the 5 circles, and you can see here, I know there's 6. We'll talk about the 6th one at the end. But the 5 circles surrounding the center circle, the first one would be your family, financial, spiritual, health, and personal. So these are really the 5 circles that's going to surround that middle circle. And what we're going to do today is just kind of break down each of those 5 key areas and go through each one. So the first one I want to talk to you about is family. So when I was actually flying back from San Diego on Sunday night, I was in the parking garage, and a lady came in the parking garage. She was pulling her luggage, and I could tell she was probably around 70, 72 years old. So we were standing there waiting for our transportation to take us, to the in the airport. And I struck up a conversation with her, and I asked her where she was going, where are you traveling to, who are you going to see, that type thing. And she just said something that really touched my heart. And she said, I am so excited. I'm getting to go see my twin 6-year-old grandkids. I haven't got to see them for well over a year because of COVID. And I'm so excited. I just can't wait to see them. And it just kind of touched my heart. I just saw the glimmer and the excitement in her eyes of going to see those grandkids. And I thought to myself, I've heard that story over and over and over the last 2 years with COVID. My clients, just like you, the traveling has, a lot of times the traveling has ceased. Kids, aren't coming to see, aren't traveling back and forth. So you're not seeing your kids, you're not seeing your grandkids. Now I know that COVID is, kind of letting up some of their restrictions. So it's starting to come back to a semi-normal, but a lot of you have said to me, man, I really miss my kids. I miss seeing my grandkids. But with all of this going on, COVID has just kind of put a damper in my family life. So that I got on the plane and I got thinking about that lady, and it just touched me so much, seeing the excitement in her eyes, in her voice of going to see those 6-year-old grandkids. So basically what I wanted to talk about is staying connected to your family. And of course, my kids, many of you know, my kids are 18 and 20. So my parents and my in-laws, they say things like, you guys are always so busy, the kids are working, the kids are in college, the kids are, out with their friends or with their boyfriends or girlfriends. It's just super hard to stay connected with them. And something that I notice is, and I thought this might be a good tip, and like I said, I have boys too. So boys are not as big a communicator sometimes as girls. But sometimes what I found is my parents and my in-laws would text my kids. And so it might not be like picking up the phone and calling and saying, "Hey, how was your day at school?" or "How was work going?" But just a simple text message. So my father-in-law, for example, um, on my husband's side of the family, we have about 20, I think it's 25 grandkids, and then we have, I think, 29 great grandkids. So it's pretty difficult for my in-laws to stay connected to everybody. But what my father-in-law is very good at is texting the kids. And what I found is you might think that that's not important to your kids, but it's really cute because it's really cute and the kids appreciate it. Because even my kids will come and be like, "Hey, Grandpa just texted me and asked me how my day was," or "Grandpa just texted me and took a picture of something he was working on." My mother-in-law and my father-in-law love to do puzzles. And every once in a while, they'll take a picture of the puzzle and say, "Hey, we just completed this," and send it to my kids. So that way of connection, it's just amazing. So even though you're not necessarily talking to them, you're letting the grandkids know, you're letting your kids know, "Hey, I'm thinking about you. I hope you're having a good day. Love ya." Another thing, like my dad, for example, he's old school, so we kind of get a good laugh at it once in a while. But like when he texts, he'll be like, he'll say their name and then comma, and then he'll write out, "Hey, hope you're having a great day. Love, Papa and Grandma." It's so cute. And the boys, my boys, they'll come and be like, "I got a text from Grandpa and he didn't forget that comma." So even though you think that maybe it doesn't make that much difference to the kids, it definitely does. It's a way to stay connected. Um, and like my mom, for example, she likes when she invites the boys over, she likes to make chocolate chip cookies, their favorite cookies. So she makes sure that their chocolate chip cookies are made if she knows that they're going to come over. My mother-in-law, for example, she knows that my youngest son loves fettuccine Alfredo and ice cream sandwiches for my older son. So she has in the refrigerator her ice cream sandwiches and makes fettuccine Alfredo for my boys when we come over. And just little and little things. And when I was at the conference last week, obviously I did this same type of exercise. I went through and I figured out all 5 circles for me. How can I communicate better? How can I do things better with my clients, with you, with my team? And that's when I sat down and I thought, I can't miss this opportunity to share this with you as my client. Another way to connect was one of the guys I worked with a few years ago. He's retired now, but when I worked with him a few years ago, he had a difficult time because he had just a couple of grandkids, and his wife had passed away. So the grandma was not in the picture. So it was just him and his granddaughter. And one thing that they did, I thought this was just so neat, is they met, him and his granddaughter met, I think it was either every week or every other week, I can't remember. And they went around to different restaurants. So like they might do Italian restaurants, or they might do Mexican restaurants. They would go around and they would have dinner at each of these restaurants and then do a review on that restaurant. And I found that very interesting, and it connected him and his granddaughter. So when I say stay connected, really reach out to those grandkids, reach out to your kids. Even me, I'm super busy, and every once in a while I get a text to my mom or my dad or my in-laws and be like, "Hey, hope you're having a good day." And how can you not smile? It just puts a smile on your face because you're thinking, "Oh, they really think about me. They're really caring about how I feel, and they want me to have a good day." The other thing is, going back to travel, and this is where I'm going to put in a little bit about insurance, is make sure that whatever insurance company, whatever plan you have is going to cover where you're traveling. So once again, if you go outside of the US, we need to have a conversation if you go outside of the US. If you're staying within the US and you have questions about, how your plan is going to cover you in the US, just reach out to us. We can definitely help you with that. The second circle we're going to talk about is financial. And last week when I was at the conference, we're hearing all over the news, all over the radio about inflation and how things are going to happen. We might have this big turn in the market, things like that. So sitting and listening to about the inflation, I thought, okay, now how does this affect my clients? And really how it affects you is if you've not talked with your financial planner, you've not talked to your advisors, you need to schedule a time, talk with your financial advisor, sit down, make sure you're still on the right financial track to be successful in your finances. If you don't have a financial advisor, reach out to me. I can refer you to someone. But really what you need to do is make sure you're comfortable and your advisor is, comfortable with where you're going in the future. Now, obviously with your Medicare plan, we try to help you get the best coverage to minimize any financial risk that you're going to have. But unfortunately, one of the biggest risks with your wealth is when you're entering in retirement is the cost of long-term care insurance. So once again, Medicare does not cover long-term care insurance. So if you need long-term care, custodial care insurance, you need to talk to somebody and get that set up. Talk to your financial advisor, see what's available to you and see if you would qualify for any type of long-term care. So that's where the financial piece, you want to make sure that circle is taken care of. On to the third circle we want to talk about. Now this one is spiritual. Now, if you're like me, I kind of was a news junkie for a while. I would listen to the news when I was driving to the office. I would listen to the news driving home from the office. And what I kind of realized is bad news sells. So a lot of news that you see on the news or you hear on the radio is negativity. So lots of constant negative things were entering my mind. Like, this is going wrong and this is going wrong. And we have these people shooting these people and this place got robbed. And it was just negative, 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 negative. And really what I found is having a mental detox was better for me. So instead of constantly hearing all of the negativity on the TV, on the radio, even on the internet, the negative news, I tried to spin it and tried to fill our minds with positive news. So try to fill your mind with positive things. We call it a mental detox, and just detoxing yourself from the negativity and the negative environment. Another thing was very interesting is this statistic is since COVID, church attendance has dropped off over 22%. Now, when I looked at that up, I could not believe that was that high of a percentage. And really what happened is people got out of the habit. As we all know, it takes about 6 weeks to create a habit. It takes less than 1 week to break that habit. So with COVID and having online church services and not being able to meet in person, a lot of people dropped off going to church. And of course, where you go to church, you get social interaction, you get, good information. And really what we need to do is try to get yourself back into it, going back to the church. Now, with that being said, we have this thing that's called the 9 blue zone study. Now, the blue zone study, I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds because I'm going to do a future podcast on the blue zones. But basically what a blue zone is it kind of talks about how people live. Okay. Now here in the US, the average life expectancy is about 78 years old. That's here in the US. But in blue zones, living to be over 100 is not uncommon. So I went to a seminar a few months ago, and they talked about this blue zone study, and it was very intriguing because basically the blue zone is a state or countries where they've created 9 habits or 9 traits that have helped people live longer. And one of those traits, surprisingly enough to me, was a spiritual trait where you're attending church. So when we talk about spiritual, we want to talk about getting back to church and be putting yourself around the positivity of social interaction. Now, the fourth circle we're going to talk about is health and fitness. Now, many of you know that you have on your plan silver sneakers. So this is just throwing back a little bit Medicare insurance back in here. So a lot of your plans have silver sneakers. So with having silver sneakers, remember, you can go to a fitness center that participates with silver sneakers and it pays your membership. So you don't necessarily have to belong to one particular fitness center. Let's say you're here in Ohio and you decide, I'm going to go to this fitness center, and then you spend your winters down in Florida and you want to go to that fitness center in Florida. That's completely fine. As long as they take silver sneakers, you can belong to multiple facilities. So once again, health and fitness, there it is. Most of your insurance plans cover that fitness membership for you. Now, if you don't want to go to an actual facility and you still have the silver sneakers on your plan, many of the silver sneakers will send you like a home kit. It's just a small home kit with some light weights for you to do in-home, in-home workout. The other thing that last week, it was interesting because last week when I was in that conference, we went through this exact thing with us, health and fitness. And I thought to myself, one of the things that I am so bad at is meal prep. I wish I was better, because what happens is you get busy, everybody's busy. And next thing you know, you're running over here and grabbing a hamburger, and you're running and grabbing a pizza because you got home late. So one of the other habits is eating healthy eating, doing meal prep. So what I did, funny story, just last night, I had went to Sam's Club, bought a big bag of chicken. Last night, I set out the 10 pounds of chicken so I could cook it up this week so we could go back onto some healthy meal prep. It looks like I have a question here.
Yeah, Suzanne, we have a question. The majority of Medicare plans cover silver sneakers, but what about ones that don't, or that have a different fitness membership? Are there different fitness memberships for different plans?
Depending on the plan, not everyone, like you said, not everyone has silver sneaker. Like one of them have silver and fit. Another one has renew active. So really what we need to do is just, if you have a question, give our office a call. We'll look at your plan and let you know if it has a fitness membership that goes with it. And then we can tell you exactly where to go to find those those fitness centers that participate with your particular membership. That was a great question.
Thanks, Suzanne.
So back to health and fitness. Once again, try not to make a bunch of big changes, because if you make lots of big changes, unfortunately, they typically don't stick. Like if I said today, I'm going to eat chicken and broccoli every day for 3 weeks, probably won't work. But if I said, I'm going to eat chicken and I'm going to eat maybe some salads, I'm going to stick away from the French fries, that might be a little easier. So just make small changes. And that obviously the health and fitness ultimately affects your whole body and your whole health. All right, so let's go on down to personal. So number 5 is personal. And number 5, I found to be a very interesting thing, because based on that blue zone study that we talked about a couple minutes ago, there are 2 years that are the deadliest years of your life, which is very interesting to me. Number 1 is the year you were born, or I'm sorry, the year you're born, in the year that you retire. And of course, many of you are in that phase right now, is the year you retire. I found that such an interesting statistic, because I thought, well, why? Why does that mean why is that so deadly, so to speak, the year you retire? So I did some research and I was like, why is that? Well, really what it is, a lot of times people have worked their whole life. They're identified with their business, or they're identified with their law firm, or they're identified in a specific format. And then all of a sudden they retire and they lose their identity. And believe it or not, I've seen that happen now. The more I researched into it and the more I talk to my clients, just like you, many people tell me, Suzanne, I feel like I've lost my identity. And just a quick story, like my dad, for example, and I know I throw my poor dad in these comments, these live casts all the time, but my dad, mom, for example, my dad always worked. He was an insurance agent, and then a financial advisor. Funny story is, growing up, I watched him, always studying, always learning, trying to, get more knowledgeable about insurance. And I thought to myself, matter of fact, I even said, I am never doing insurance when I get older. And here we are. So needless to say, he was, he always went and got, the designations behind his name, and he taught insurance, and he actually even was helped write the questions for the Department of Insurance for the when you get your license. And once he retired, I mean, he was super excited about it. But now that he's, pretty much semi-retired, he's like, well, I really miss that camaraderie. I miss sitting down and talking to people. I miss, teaching about, financial planning. And I miss talking about, insurance in general, just helping and teaching people. And funny story, he's now back to teaching again. So he called me, just matter of fact, while I was gone last week, and he said, I'm going to start teaching again, continuing ed classes, because I love that. It's what I enjoy doing. I love being in front of people and teaching this. So once again, going back to trying to find his identity was going back to teaching. Another example, for example, my father-in-law, he retired from the government, and he was only retired for just a few years, not very long. And he said, I'm going back to work. And he ended up going back driving a school bus for elementary kids. How sweet is that? And he just loved helping those little kids. So once again, you're finding your purpose after retirement. Now, another thing I did was I ran across this gentleman by the name of Dr. Riley, and he did a TED Talk. And he told in his TED Talk, he told his story about when he retired and all the struggles that he had once he retired. You have really 4 different phases of retirement. Your first phase could be vacations, and everybody's like, ching, I'm retired. I'm going to go travel the world. Well, you're probably not going to travel the world for the next 20 years. So you really have different phases. So your first phase might be, vacationing. Your next phase, loss or lost. You're not really sure where you fit in. The third phase, trial and error. I might do this to see if I can figure out what my purpose is. I might do that. I'm not sure if this is going to work. And then, of course, your fourth phase is you've regained your purpose. Why are you here? So I talked with Dr. Riley yesterday, and very exciting to tell you guys, October, we are going to have our live cast, and I'm going to do an interview with him. And, he's an author of the 4 phases of retirement and how to deal with retirement. So that is your 5th phase. And going back here, really when I was on the plane and I was going through, kind of setting out how I wanted to do this live cast, because I really felt like my heart said, share what you just learned, because it was so valuable to me as an individual. Because I came home and I was like, okay, how am I going to do my health better? How am I going to do my family better? How am I going to do my financial better? How am I going to do my spiritual better? How am I going to get better on a personal level? How am I going to get better in my business? And so really when I set this down, I said, if I can do and accomplish all 5 of these circles, then my center circle has been fulfilled.